The most challenging part of your journey is going to be on the mental side. It's going to be becoming that version of yourself. And the way you do that is you get around people you get a mentor and you get in the environment, and you're doing both of those things. That's the hardest part, because you're going to have great months in business. You're going to have crappy months in business. You're going to feel like you're on top of the world, and you're going to feel like quitting. All those emotions are going to be happening. And it doesn't matter how good your phone call script is. It doesn't matter how early you showed up that day. Things are going to happen in your business. And it's the mental side of the game. Harder than we think it is on the mental side, but it's 100 times better than you could ever imagine. Kids, it's not just about the money, Z. It's about sitting there at 30, 35, 40, knowing the human being that you became, knowing how to deal with people, how to have tough conversations, how to lead, knowing when to listen. All those conversations that you get to have every day, and it's a blessing. And then earning 7 figures a year on top of that, that's the icing on the cake. Yeah, let's get started. So I know you have a couple of questions prepared, so whenever you're ready.
Okay, would you like all 3 questions or what?
Yeah, start with one, and then we'll go down the list.
Okay, awesome. Perfect, Steve. What's one thing you wish someone had told you when you were an associate just starting out in this business?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Now I got to go way back to remember me as an associate. I think that one to me is easy. It's simple. There's really one thing. Now again, we know that's not possible, but if I could go back and have somebody tell me something that I knew would be true, I would want them to say to me, I'd want them to lean in and kind of whisper in my ear and say, Steve, everything's going to work out. Everything's going to be okay. You're down today, or your teammate quit, or a client canceled, or you've had reschedules. Everything's going to work out. You're a good kid. You show up on time. You work hard. You care about people. You're putting in the effort. It's going to work out. I can't promise you how big, how fast, but you're going to make it, and it's going to be better than you thought. So just spend more time enjoying the journey and really soaking it in, because you're going to make it.
I love that. That's incredible.
I think for me, I think so many times that we're doing business, or we're in the business, we're working, to use a hockey analogy, we're gripping the stick really tight. I think that, we're stressed out a lot, we're anxious, and these are feelings we're never going to get rid of. But if I could give some people some advice, and these are the people that are working hard, they're already doing what it takes. If I have to have you got to show up for your business talk, that's a different talk. But assuming you're showing up, which you are, you're working hard. My piece of advice to you is same. You're gonna make it here. Make sure you're having fun. Enjoy it. It's the ups, the downs, the sideways days, the this, the that. Because before you know it, Audrey, you're going to have been here 5-year anniversary, 10-year anniversary, 15-year anniversary. You're going to go, what the hell happened? Right? And I don't want you to have to look back and go, whoa, the first 10 years, I didn't really have much fun. I just grinded all the time. Like you coming out to Calgary last week, that was part of you not only changing your identity, but you having fun. And I think that's important for you to be able to have fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Second question.
What habits have you found have helped you be more productive?
So there's a lot of habits in our business that are important, right? The obvious ones, prospecting, making calls, booking up your calendar. But I would say if I had to pick two habits that really serve me, and again, these are the top of my mind, the number one habit that made Steve Holbrook who he is today was strict hours of operation. I'm going to talk about this a lot today. I'm going to talk about this a lot in training. You were in that meeting where I did with the sleds framework. I created a box that I knew that if I operated within that box, I showed up on time and I did what I needed to do, I believed that I was going to make it. I think, I was talking to an associate yesterday in the hierarchy, and, they're struggling with their mindset. And I asked them, well, what's your hours of operation? And the answer was, well, I don't have any. Says, okay, well, what do the last 4 days look like? Well, I just took a mental reset. I said, you took a mental reset. You took 4 days off the business. It's Tuesday. It's 5 p.m. at night. You haven't done the business. You have no structure, right? You're doing the business when you feel like it. I said, that's a guaranteed recipe for failure. So the number one habit for me was, night before, pre-plan my day. And that pre-planning included when I was going to get up, because remember, confidence comes from keeping the promises to yourself. So I go to bed, and I still do this to this day, Audrey. I go to bed and I go, okay, I'm going to get up at this time. Am I going to work out? Yes or no? I decide the night before. And here's what time I'm going to be at the office. Okay. For you, if you work from home, here's what time I'm going to be in my office, dressed to impress, on the phones. And if I could do those three things every single day, then as long as when I got to the office, I had a power list of 3 to 5 things I did every day once I got there, I knew that I could win. That was really the first thing. And the second thing that comes to mind is I kept it simple. Audrey, my main focus was my new appointments per week. So my business plan, my first year, I had a white sheet of paper, just like this, and I wrote 11 lines on it. And my head would not hit the pillow Sunday night until I had 11 appointments booked. Because I knew if I had 11 appointments booked, that 3 would probably reschedule and I'd be on at least 7 or 8. And I knew that my mentor always told me 6 to 8 appointments a week was $100,000 a year as a marketing director. So what happened? I didn't believe him. I did not believe him, but I did it anyway. And after my 13th month in the business, I had my 6-figure ring, and I attribute it to creating strong morning habits, that framework, and making sure every week I was on my 8 appointments. And then from that, I was bad at closing, and then I got good. My phone calls weren't great, but they had to get better because I had to fill my schedule. My mindset wasn't sharp, but it developed over time. So all those things came, but I had to create those couple things in the beginning. Yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got one more?
I do, if you have time for a third.
Yeah.
How do you identify people that you can build a relationship with to be successful in this business?
Ooh, how do I identify people? So I think it's important that you have some form of relationship with everybody on your team, but relationships are different, right? There's going to be some people on your team that you love from afar. Okay. You love them from afar. So what does that mean? That means that you care about them. You care about their family. You care about their future. You care, you want, if anything goes severely wrong in their life, they can always call you and you're going to pick up and you're going to be there for them on the personal side. But they're also the people that aren't really putting in the effort on the business side right now. Maybe they're making a lot of excuses. Maybe they're always in a season of turmoil, right? It's just one thing after another. And you don't really, you can't spend too much time in that area, right? Or else your identity is going to be, your rate of vibration is going to be lowered to that rate of vibration. So I don't want to say you categorize people because that sounds wrong, but you really need to look at your team. Now we're talking business. You got to look at your business like it's a team. Okay. If it's a football team, I don't know how many there are, 40, 50, 60 people on the roster of a football team. I'm not sure what the number is. If it's hockey, there's usually 25, 30 people on the roster of a hockey team. Well, there's certain people that you're going to invest more time with. So I look at my team and I ask myself, who has the most potential if I pour into them now to respond the fastest? Like when I look at people that are ready, I look at their readiness factor. Okay, so I look at you and John. You guys have a high readiness factor, right? Doesn't matter if you're male or female. Doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. Doesn't even matter if you're from Winnipeg. What matters is, are they ready? Are they ready to respond? Are they hungry for more? If I pour into them and build up that relationship on the business side, right? Are they going to respond to that, in their own life and through their own business? So that's really who I decide to spend time with. I've spent a lot of time with people, Audrey, with people that I've wanted them to win. I go to bed at night. I used to go to bed at night thinking about them. But then I realized I go to bed at night thinking more about their goals than they do. I wasn't just meeting them halfway. I was trying to meet them 90% of the way, and they weren't even showing up 10%. So again, I love them from afar. I'm here when you're ready, but I'm spending my time at the tip of the spear. I go where the heat is. The heat is the readiness factor. And I always go where the heat is. And sometimes it changes, right? Again, on the personal side, it doesn't mean that I'm not there for everybody. It just means that I'm only one guy. I only have 24 hours in a day. I have a family too. I have health challenges. So I'm going to go the tip of the spear, the people that are the most ready, the people that are most responsive. And as you can see, that can change month to month depending on the person and their situation. And that way you're spending most of your time with people that are excited, right? I mean, the day you wake up and you realize you're chasing 5 people around, you're babysitting, it's demoralizing. You're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what am I babysitting is like $15 an hour job, right? I'm here to build a business. So I spend time with people that are ready to build a business.
I love that. Readiness factor is the key takeaway. I love that.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, Audrey.
You're welcome.
Thanks for popping on. Well, let's catch up later on the phone.
I love that. Thank you, Steve.
Okay. Thanks, Audrey. We'll see you later. Okay, bye. Hey, Angela. Amber's been telling me you've been doing some great things and, just raving about you. And I see your commitment and you have an office. And so I thought, you know what? Let's hop on a quick call and let's spend some time together. And I thought if you had a couple of questions, that you wanted to ask me, that we could do that today.
Well, I really did appreciate the invitation, and I know how I couldn't pass this up. So I was actually on my way home, got as far as Chestermere, changed my mind, and came back. I was like, no, one more week in the office. So,
oh wow.
Really appreciate it, Steve. I see the value in being at the office as much as I can in order to create that identity.
Great. Well, why don't you start with your first question I can help you with?
So I guess one of my biggest questions when I think about the opportunity to speak to the executive vice president of such a amazing team as you've built here, and Amber, what was your game-changing moment where you really felt like this was your up level, this was your identity? How did you go about owning it?
Wow, that's a really good question. That's a deep question for me. I always say there's two important dates in this business. One is the day you start, and then the second is the day that you make your decision. And for some people, it happens right away. For some people, it's a year in. For me, Angela, like when I started, getting the support of my parents was huge. That was really early on. Like they mean everything to me. So them supporting me was really all the support I needed to have the confidence to start. When I started competing and I love the person I was becoming, and I was making money and I was rising up. I was speaking on calls. The recognition was addictive for me, especially as a young 23, 24-year-old. But what's interesting is it really wasn't until I got sick and I hit rock bottom where I had my defining moment. It was you weren't around back then in our business, but it was 2009. I had been really sick with Crohn's disease. I had a bunch of surgeries and I really lost all my confidence in myself. I lost, my swagger. I lost physically a lot of weight. There was a lot of pain and a lot of just loneliness. I really felt alone that year in and out of the hospital. And there wasn't anything anybody could have said or done to make me feel better. I was now living without 8 feet of my bowel. And there was some new discoveries that I had to explore through that. And it's so interesting because when I came through that experience at the end of 2009, I don't know if it came to me overnight or had it been building that year. But when I got out of the hospital in my first day back in that environment, the office environment, I just remember sitting down and having just a wave of emotion coming over me. And I go, And I remember saying to myself quietly, this is where I belong. This is where I'm going to build my legacy. This is where I'm going to plant my flag. And, I had done well the previous 4 years, but I had never really had that conversation with myself. And I think when you hit that point, for me, it was rock bottom. And, unfortunately, a lot of people have to get to rock bottom in order to find that moment. But I made that decision, Angela, that it didn't matter how hard it was going to be. It didn't matter how long it was going to take. It didn't matter how many people I was going to talk to. I had the blinders on, and this was going to be my path. This was going to shape my destiny. And everything from that point on changed. My language changed. The way I wrote my goals changed. How I spoke to my team changed. How I prospected people changed. I wasn't just in my business anymore. I got on top of my business. I started thinking long-term. I started making long-term plans. It wasn't just about making 6 figures a year anymore. It was about building a legacy and having a family that could potentially take the business over. So that for me was my moment. And not everyone's going to have that death scare, but I think everybody has to have that conversation with themselves at some point. And, I have meetings all the time with marketing directors and senior brokers that have that breakthrough moment. And it might be a financial setback. It might be a relationship setback. It might be a health setback. But it's usually in the setback moments that we sit there, our backs against the wall, we're desperate, and we go, how the hell am I going to get myself out of this? And then you think, oh, I have it. I have the vehicle. It's sitting right in front of me. I just have to get in the damn car and drive it. And that's where I was at in 2009.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your candor. That is, I can definitely see parallels. I've been at this 10 months. And so that certainly gave me a lot of food to think.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. Do you have time for one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. So, of course, in my case, I've come to the office. I have up-leveled my game, so to say. Family is back in Saskatchewan. So I guess my legacy, my long term is eventually to have an office. Absolutely. I see the value of being in person with my teammates and with recreating that environment here that you have here at your Calgary office. But in the age of Zoom and the accessibility to building businesses remotely, do you have any advice, any best practices of things that you've really seen work with the amazing teams you've built across Canada? And specifically for those of us who aren't easily accessible to the office on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's a great question. Zoom, there's no question that Zoom changed our business, right? We're able to reach more people. We're able to hop on a quick Zoom call. I think the work-life balance has really improved with Zoom, right? I can be at the office during the day. I can head home at night and do some Zooms, tuck the kids in. Now, for people that work remote, it's a blessing and a curse, okay? The blessing is you get to work remote. There's some goodies that come along with that. You get to be around. But the curse is that it's very difficult to stay disciplined while working from home. So my advice is this. The key is to create framework. The first thing I want to talk about is framework. If you're working from home, my recommendation is treat it like you're going to the office. The biggest thing for me the night before is I wake up, or before I go to bed, I decide when I'm going to wake up, if I'm going to work out, and what time I'm going to be at the office. I do the same thing at home. A lot of agents, they struggle. They work from home. They make calls when they feel like it, right? How was your day so far? Oh, I was doing a lot of running around and a lot of errands. And I'm thinking to myself, you have to treat yourself like you have a job. If you were an employee of your firm, at the end of every day, would you be fired or would you get another day with that company? And it's the same at home. If you want to work from home, then great. Especially if you don't have an office nearby. But, waking up and being in your home office by 9 a.m. with a list of things to do, right? 9 to noon, you're packed, right? Noon to 1, you take a break, you walk around, you go outside, lunch, you might run some errands, and then you have some afternoon meetings. Maybe you do some family stuff, and then you do a 6, 7 o'clock training at night. You really got to be disciplined working from home. Like, at least if you worked at the office and you don't have a super structured day, just by being at the office, you're probably going to make an extra call. You're probably going to work on your mindset a bit. You don't have the luxury at home because there's so many distractions. So working from home, if that's all you have, then that's great, but you really got to be disciplined, and you really got to be accountable to your schedule, and you have to block off time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Put the blinders on, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah. The second thing I'll mention is that people are built in person. So those agents that are working from home, they have to get into an environment once in a while. I'd say every couple months, they should be in Calgary, right? They should be at a big event. Every 8 weeks, we should be convening at an office, whether it's an Ontario event or a Regina event or a Calgary event, just to be in an environment around people, because people are built face to face. Zoom is great to connect, ask questions. We can build a bit of a relationship like you and I are today. But at the end of the day, nothing beats you and I face to face at the office, sitting at my desk or going for wings or hanging out after, doing a barbecue. So scheduling in the times to be at all the little barbecues and events every 6 to 8 weeks so that, you can work from home because you have to, but then you get in that environment to allow yourself to be built as a leader.
Right.
Yeah.
And getting in that energy, I find, just being around other people who are winning and seeing the full vision. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Steve.
Oh, absolutely, Angela. Great questions. And we'll see you at the office.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. We'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
Why isn't it forming? Hold on. Wait.
Big Z, what's going on? You looked white for a second with that light shining.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. How's your day?
I'm good. Fired up.
So I know you got some questions for me. Do you want to start?
Yeah, man, for sure. So my first question is, what was your mindset like in building a business, despite you not having maybe much close people supporting you? It's like family members and friends. What was your mindset when becoming successful at a young age?
Well, I think it had to shift, to be honest, man. Like when I was young and 23 and I had doubters, like when you're 23 and someone doubts you, I mean, your first instinct is to go key their car. You're like, I'm going to beat this guy up. Like, where does he live? Like, let's meet him in the alley. But obviously that's not a good way to think. Look, there's a bunch of people that doubt you, and there's a smaller group of people that believe in you. And depending on my daisy, some days that I get up in the morning, I'm working my ass off to prove the haters wrong, to prove them wrong so that they can, and it's just, again, but that's probably the ego in me, but we all have it. There's people that doubt us at every level. There's people that doubt me still today. So I get up some days and I do it for them. But most days, and this is now evolving the other way, which is healthier, most days I do it for the people that believe in me. The people that, believe that I can do it, that believe in my, my ability. But we'll tell you this about the people that doubt you. When you get to a point where you go from a, middle class, world class, or to a middle class, upper class, world class mindset, you'll start to inherently believe, and I know you're building to this level. Like when someone doubts me, Z, and someone, we'll call it a hater, I don't even really get mad at them anymore. I pray for them. Because there's something in their life that's gone so wrong recently or in the past where they feel like they need to verbally doubt me or talk smack to me. I'm sure there's a lot of people that doubt me that don't say anything about it, and that's fine in the past. But the people that don't believe in you and don't support you, and I take the people that don't support me as they don't believe in me. I take it the same. You don't support me, you don't believe in me. there's something that happened in their life that caused them to have so little belief and so little, courage to really pour into somebody. It's easier for them to doubt and hate because what you're doing makes them feel so uncomfortable. That's really what it is. When somebody's hating or doubting or whatever that is, your message, your video, your business, your success, your income, whatever it is, this makes them feel uncomfortable because it holds a mirror up in front of their face and they're looking at themselves in the mirror, right? Going, what's your problem, Holbrook? Why is Zander so excited about his future, right? His little money thing that he's doing. And what's your problem? Or when's the last time you got your ass off the couch and went to work? And that makes them uncomfortable. And instead of them deciding to push through and pick up a book and figure exactly what it is that you're doing and why you're excited, they're going to talk smack. So my prayer for that person is that, man, I just pray that they get to a point where they're happy with themselves, where they're confident in their path, because nobody that's confident in their path, that's happy with who they are, right? That's grateful for their situation. Nobody in that state hates on other people. I know that because we've all hated on other people in the past. You and I have both done it in our past lives. And maybe even once in a while, we might even catch ourselves doing it today. But when we're doing it, we're coming from a place of scarcity. We're coming from a small place. We're coming from a place of, I'm going to rip them down to make myself look bigger. And there's a lot of people that live in that state of mind their entire life. So, if they can get through that, great. And guess what? By me winning big, guess what? Maybe, just maybe, I can help them go, you know what? He did it. He freaking did it. And you know what? Maybe I can too. And I hang on to that. So that's really my mindset around people that doubt me.
Awesome. That's awesome, bro. I appreciate you answering that question for me. My second one, and I think we had a little bit of a conversation about it last time, but I want you to go a little bit more in depth. So when you get to the point of building a huge team, right? You're making good money. Did you ever in a position feel that imposter syndrome type of thing? Or how did you accept that it was like your new identity? Like accepting it, not like, okay, can I do this? More so saying like, okay, yeah, this is me now.
I was talking to a big group last week, the Sleds hierarchy in the office, about a live event. And I told them this, the imposter syndrome never really goes away because if you're always chasing the next level, there's always a part of you that wonders if you deserve not only to be at that next level, but to be at the level that you are today. And look, you're growing fast in your business, right? It's not like you're going slow. Like when you're moving really slow, you don't have imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome comes from having some level of success a little bit quicker than your personal development and mindset has caught up to. So your business is growing like this. Your personal growth is just trailing behind it. You're probably 6 to 8 months away from feeling like you deserve it. But here's a problem. By the time you feel like you deserve it, you're now a senior broker. And then now you're an executive broker. So your identity is always trying to catch up, to where you're at. But if you don't keep moving your feet, what'll happen is you'll end up going backwards because you'll never out-earn your identity. So what happens is you start to out-earn your identity, things start to go good. And if you don't catch back up to that identity, you'll fall back down. And by catching up and keep going to the next level, you're always going to have a little bit of imposter syndrome. Do I deserve this kind of money? Do I deserve this kind of team? And that's a conversation that you have to understand you're going to have with yourself on an ongoing basis. So the second part to that question, I think, was how do you deal with that? Is that right?
Yeah, like when you get to that point of like that's you now. So like what did you do to accept that was your new identity?
I think spending a little bit of time with yourself every week, Z, like half hour, 45 minutes, even an hour a week, just with yourself, kind of putting your feet up and just anchoring yourself in gratitude and just building yourself back up. Sometimes I'll just sit at home for an hour and I'll just fill my tank and just remind myself of all the things that I do. So let me give you an example because I know how hard you work. So you remind me a lot of me, to be honest, with your work ethic. So at the end of the week, you find a quiet time, Saturday, Friday night, Sunday night, whatever your hour and a half. And I would sit back at home or somewhere comfortable, pour myself a glass of water, pull out my goals, and I would start to list all the reasons why I'm winning big. Number one, I outwork everybody. Nobody outworks me. I show up every day. When I show up, and I'm talking about you, I wear a suit and tie. I'm coachable to a fault. I'll do anything that my leader tells me to do. I came from here. I've seen the bottom, and now I'm starting to pull myself through. So here's the truth, bro. The whole world is looking for validation. Everybody is waiting around for someone to be like, oh, you're so great, and I'm so proud of you, and you're such a stud. And you're going to get that in our business, but you have to be reminding yourself. You have to be like, you know what? I made 45 grand last month. I deserve it. I was the first guy to the office all week. I show up when nobody showed up. Man, in one day, I had 5 guys quit. Nobody has had 5 guys quit in one day. Man, I put $10,000 of commission on the books and 4 fell off. Like, I just remind myself of the endurance that I've had and the things that I've been through, right? And, you know, they always say you're not in business until you have a senior broker quit, right? So all the things that you've been through, you need to remind yourself that you've been through all that and that you've survived so that you deserve where you're at. In fact, when you're in those 2-hour sessions with yourself, Z, by the end of that meeting, you know what I come up with? I usually come to the conclusion that I'm underpaid. I deserve an extra zero behind my cash flow for the time that I'm putting in and how hard I work. But the opposite's true. Let's say you made 40, 50 grand in a month, but it came easy. And it was one deal and you didn't earn it. And you're kind of sloppy with your appearance and you're sloppy with your hours of operation and you show up at noon, you leave at 4. You're going to sit there at the end of the month and you probably won't think about it. But if you do, you'll be like, man, I didn't really earn that money. I got lucky. I made 1 phone call. I closed 1 deal. And guess what's going to happen next month? You're going to come all the way back crashing down. And yeah, you are going to have that imposter syndrome, but you can't back it up with the things that got you there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, bro. That was a good one. That was a good one. I like that one.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to remind yourself, and every once in a while, you got to lean over to Nabby and be like, hey, bro, what is it about me that makes me different? Why am I going to be a 2%er? Why am I a 1%er? Why am I your top guy? Let him tell you. He'll tell you. It'll be on the tip of his tongue, just like it's on the tip of mine. See, it's so obvious to us why you're going to be a 7-figure earner. But to you, it's not that obvious because you live with yourself every day. You're the guy sitting there hitting snooze twice. You know that. You're the guy putting the Krispy Kreme in your mouth when you know that you should be putting the water in your mouth when no one's looking. So you keep judging yourself on all the little things that you did wrong, but we all have that, right? You have so many blessings that's going to make you successful, and you need to remind yourself of those, and you need to ask a few people around you that you respect of what those are, because that's what makes you unique.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
That's awesome. In the last week, I can say that I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he told me, if you want to feel a lot better about yourself, wake up in the morning, first thing that you do, and say 3 things that you're grateful for. Just 3 things. Could be anything. And I've been practicing it, so I'll wait for that to compound, but I have been seeing a difference in my attitude, so just got to increase the urgency there. So awesome. I appreciate that, brother. And third, it's very generic. Advice to a young entrepreneur at 25 building a huge team in WFG. Anything that you would tell them?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I would tell you is it's not going to be easy. It's going to be really hard. And the reason it's going to be hard is because we underestimate the person we have to become to lead that team. We don't understand at the beginning the personal growth journey that we're going to have to endure to become that person to lead that big team. You know, I can sit here and say, oh, it's 15 meetings a week. Okay, I can compartmentalize that. It's 50 phone calls. Yeah, I can compartmentalize that. You got to show up at 8 a.m. Yeah, I can check that box off. But there's so much to it. The mental side of the game. This is 80% mental right? 20% physical. This is a mental game. This is about you becoming a new version of you. Remember the first time you and I met on Zoom? Remember that meeting? How emotional you were, where you were at, and to see where you are today. There's nothing that I could have done, bro, to explain to you what that journey was going to feel like. You had to go through that. So I'm going to tell you that the most challenging part of your journey is going to be on the mental side. It's going to be becoming that version of yourself. And the way you do that is you get around people you get a mentor and you get in the environment, and you're doing both of those things. That's the hardest part, because you're going to have great months in business. You're going to have crappy months in business. You're going to feel like you're on top of the world, and you're going to feel like quitting. All those emotions are going to be happening. And it doesn't matter how good your phone call script is. It doesn't matter how early you showed up that day. Things are going to happen in your business. And it's the mental side of the game, right? I'm excited to see where you are going to be as a man at 30 years old. Not as an entrepreneur, but as a human being. The level, the degree that you're going to, your ability to lead different kinds of people, right? Your emotional control, your emotional intelligence, your self-awareness, all those things that you're experiencing every day, right? Again, goes back to your last question. At 30 years old, you're not going to recognize yourself. So what I can tell you is that, it's harder than we think it is on the mental side, but it's 100 times better than you could ever imagine. It is way better than you can ever imagine, because it's not just about the money, Z. It's about sitting there at 30, 35, 40, knowing the human being that you became, knowing how to deal with people, how to have tough conversations, how to lead, knowing when to listen. All those conversations that you get to have every day, and it's a blessing. And then earning 7 figures a year on top of that, that's the icing on the cake. So I would tell someone, stick with it, right? Double down on your personal growth, and you're not going to recognize your life in 5 years.
Solid, bro. That's awesome. I wish I had a lot more time and a lot more questions, but I'll get you on the next call.
We'll do this again, brother. We'll see you tonight.
All right, man. See you soon.
Okay, boss. Talk to you. Bye. Hey!
There you go.
Mon gars.
Comment ça va?
Bien, et tu?
Ça va super bien. We're doing a mix of French, Spanish.
Yeah, a little bit everything. That's about as far as I can go on those two languages, or the Spanish anyway.
My first question I had for you is, how did you get comfortable talking to people you don't know and prospect them? Not in an online, because we stuck in this online world, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget, as human, it's good to talk to each other, right? And how did you get good at prospecting, going anywhere in the world or wherever you would go?
Well, I think the one thing that people don't know about me is that I'm an introvert. So when you get me outside of this environment, I don't love naturally talking to people. My wife, you met my wife. She's an extrovert, right? Like, we'll go to the mall, Claude, especially early on in our relationship. We'll go to the mall and she'll stop and talk to everybody, right? We'll be walking down the mall. She'd be like, "Oh my God, there's Sarah from down the street. Hi, Sarah." Like waving. I'm like, "Let's go, hon. We got to go." Right? I'm the guy that if I'm by myself and I see a guy that I used to know from high school, I'll kind of like go to the other side of the mall, kind of dip into a store. It's not natural for me to want to talk to people. So this whole idea of being in a business where we have to like prospect and meet people, that was super uncomfortable for me. But I knew that it was going to be worth it because I had a huge dream and I knew this is the vehicle. So I remember talking to Ed about this, my mentor, about prospecting and meeting people. And he gave me the best advice ever. Because I said, where do I start? Like, it's just uncomfortable for me to talk to people. I'm not a small talk kind of guy. And then I have to like prospect them. And he says, this is what he told me. And I'll tell you the same thing. It just starts with learning how to have conversations with people. The first step is just having a conversation with people. Not everybody you meet, you need to prospect. I had all this pressure on myself to like, get that guy's number and get her number and talk to him. So what I started doing, and I still do it today, everywhere I go, I make an effort. I'll talk to the hostess. I'll talk to the manager. I'll talk to the guy selling cell phones in the mall. And you know what? I'm not going to prospect everybody. I'm going to let the conversation come to me. I had to learn how to talk to people. And I started saying things like, "Hey, Claude, how you doing? Good. You know, how long you worked at Rogers for? Like 8 months. Cool, man. How's it been going? It's been going great. Yeah. Awesome. Good. Well, hey, looks like you're doing a great job. I just wanted to say, hey, have a great day, man. And I walk away. And they would just smile and be like, wow, that was really cool. And then I'd go and I'd pop in and the manager would walk by at the restaurant and I'd say, hey, are you the manager? Yeah, I'm the manager. Hey, listen, I just want to let you know that Sarah, she's doing an unbelievable job. Like, I know how hard it is to wait tables and I see how busy this place is. She's awesome, right? Obviously, I'm going to say things that are true about her or I'll talk to Sarah. So, it's not do or die every time I meet somebody to get their number. I had to get good at exercising my voice and really connecting with people, because what I found, Claude, is that when I put a bunch of pressure on myself to just go and prospect people, I was missing the connection. I didn't connect with them. And not everybody's a fit for our business, right? The second piece of advice there is you have to separate three things. You have to separate, if you are going to prospect somebody, you have to separate the getting their number from booking the appointment and doing the presentation. A lot of people, when they're talking to somebody, they're at the mall or whatever, they meet a manager, they start chatting with that person. I don't care what your business is, right? People are prospecting for their beauty business, they're prospecting for their restaurant, they're prospecting for their sports business, insurance business, mortgage business, real estate business. It's all the same. You should be prospecting. But a lot of people, when they prospect, they try and get the number. They try and get the number and book the meeting at the same time. Hey, Claude, listen, are you locked into what you're doing? Keep your options open. I'm open. Why? Well, hey, listen, why don't we book a meeting and do a Zoom call and we can get on a call and they mesh the getting the number with booking the meeting. But then they also, when they call to book the meeting, they're doing the presentation on the phone. You have to separate the prospect from the booking the meeting from doing the presentation. Those are three separate things. So you go out and about, you talk to everybody, you're friendly, you make everybody feel good, right? If there's one or two people that you have a conversation with that it's like, it really hits, then you lean over and go, hey man, are you locked into this? Or keep your options open. And you feel good about that conversation because you've already had 5 or 6 other just random encounters. You actually had a genuine connection. You get the number. Yeah, man, I'm open. What is it? Listen, I don't have a lot of time. I run a financial education business. Now it's not the time. When's the best time to reach out to you? I'm off at 6. If I call you at 6, will you pick up? Okay, good. I'm a busy guy. Make sure you call me back. Yeah. And then you call him back at 6 and you say, listen, man, I can't promise you anything, but my firm's expanding. I'd love to get on a Zoom call, show you what it's about. He might ask you a couple of questions. Yeah, what is it? What's the industry? But I'm not going to give him the full presentation on the phone. I'm giving him an opportunity. So I'm in charge, not him. Well, what is it? Listen, I know you got a lot of questions, right? You seem like a sharp kid. I'm not even sure if you'd be a fit. Let's get together tomorrow at 8 and I'll let you know what it's, I'll show you what it's all about.
Makes sense. Yes, it's really exercising on a day-to-day basis anywhere you go. Just have that start with 30 seconds. Hey, how you doing? Just want to tell you that you're doing a great job. And then you go, and the more you go, the more comfortable you're going to get, basically. Yeah, like I'll give you a challenge. Next time you go to prospect, the first 5 people you talk to, don't prospect them. Okay. Don't get their number. Just talk to them. Claude, there were some days early on when I was learning, I'd go out for 3 hours and I would just talk to everybody, and I promised myself I wouldn't prospect. I would just talk because I had to learn. We have to learn how to communicate. And especially coming out of COVID, we have to learn how to interact with people, right? And you know what? When you have no outcome, you're a great listener. You're listening, you're intent, you're listening. And then guess what? It came to a point where I was like, my God, I have to prospect this woman. She would be unbelievable in our business. They were basically they throw themselves at your business. How long you been here? Oh man, I'm looking for something in sales, and I need flexibility, and my kid's sick, and I just don't know what else is out there. I want to make more money. And then you're like, hey, listen, listen, I can't promise you anything. Let me grab your number, but you feel good about it. Okay. No, great. Yeah, that's really useful. I hope I could get a recording of that. Yeah, I'll give you one. My second question is how did you build such a solid structure in your business? Like everything you've created, Was it step by step, or it's just a vision that you had and you slowly implemented like everything to get where you are now?
It started with a vision, and the vision's always evolving and it's always growing. And every time the vision grows, I need more help, or I need a new something, or I need to add something, or I need to increase something or simplify something. So it definitely started with a vision. Like if you had a vision to be a CEO, right, in this business, it's a certain amount of licensed agents, call it 75 licensed agents. You really got to lean into that vision, right? And then you got to back engineer it. Where do I need to start? Okay, step one is I got to get to senior broker. Okay. Well, if I want to be a CEO for my wife and kid, right? Girlfriend and kid, fiance and kid. If I want to be a senior broker family, if I want to be a CEO family, let's get that done in the next 36 months. Okay. So if I need to get that done in the next 36 months, I need to become a senior broker here in the next 12. Okay. So senior broker doesn't excite me. CEO excites me because what it's going to do. But if I want to get to CEO, I better get jacked up about senior broker. Okay. So now I back engineer it and I say, all right, what is my structure? What's my framework? I go to my mentor and I say, what do I need to do? Lay me out a blueprint to get to senior broker in 12 months, and I'll do whatever it takes. So then I laid out the blueprint. This is what I need to do tangibly: licenses, appointments, production. I laid out tangibly, and then I just back engineered every day. Okay. So then every day I have to talk to 5 people on the phone, let's say, and I need to add, 15, 20 names to my list. Okay, perfect. Then I would go into my day and go, all right, when am I going to do my 3-4 meetings a day? When am I going to make my calls? When am I going to follow up with my teammates? When am I going to follow up with my administration? And then I'd put it on my calendar. And I could get excited about building my calendar now because I want to be a CEO in 36 months. So I'm really fired up about my 36-month plan, and that energizes me, the income, the lifestyle, the debt-free, all that stuff. But the first domino is senior broker. And then really I need to create some structures in place, framework to get to that senior broker. And then once I got there, maybe I added another staff member, and that staff member could run this department. So as the vision grew, I added more staff and more infrastructure. I needed the Dream Team University because I can't build a $50 million a year gross revenue business if we don't get some digital videos online. So I started building that out.
Okay, great. And my last question is, it comes with the first one at the same time, but how did you get good at public speaking? Did you take courses? Did you just threw yourself to the lion the first time and just got better with time, or what did you use?
Well, there's a few things. By winning here, you get a lot of speaking time. So by growing your 2-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute, I did like it back in the day when it was all live. Getting on stage really helped. So competing to be speaking in front of the team every week is huge, biggest paycheck. Like so when you see recognition tonight, I want you to write down all the areas where people get to speak and then do it. CFT, you get to speak. MD, you get to speak. SMD, speak. 50K watch, speak. 100K ring, speak. So I had a list of all the things I could do to speak publicly. Now, the other thing I did, and this is not for everybody, I watched every single Ed Mylett YouTube video on the internet. And I memorized every one of his talks. And I would practice doing his speeches on a stage in the office, walking back and forth with nobody in the room. Claude, it got to a point where when I was at conventions and I was doing talks, every once in a while, a guy on my team would be like, "Are you limping?" And I have a little limp in my step because Ed walks with a limp. I started walking with a limp. I started talking like him. I knew every video when Ed would take off his jacket. I study Ed's talks, right? He always makes you laugh. He always makes you cry. He always makes you think about the day you were born and the day you're going to die. And he takes you through a roller coaster ride. He drives up your emotions, and then he gets super serious. And right before he's about to get serious, if he's wearing a jacket, he takes off his jacket, and he used to roll up his sleeves. And once he rolled up his sleeves, you knew you were going to get the good stuff. And then at the end, he would bring it back and he would tie the whole story together. So I'd study how he wrote his talks. I would practice using my voice influx just like he did. That's why when I speak, I have very different tones. Pauses. I take you on a ride. And I got that from watching him. And then the last thing, more recently, the last 4 or 5 years, is everybody who does videos on social media is a better public speaker. The best people in this industry at public speaking are also making videos of themselves on social media. Doing videos of yourself speaking is the number one public speaking hack today. Because everybody that makes videos of themselves, nobody loves the video, but they're forced to get better. That's why people start doing it and they stop. They don't like the way they look on video. It's very uncomfortable. Well, if you don't like what you see, then get better, right? So studying the greats, memorizing their talks, how they walk, how they write their speeches, getting on social media, and then getting more opportunities to speak at engagements is the 3 ways I would suggest.